What exactly is the eye of a hurricane? The eye is the circular, cloud-free center of a hurricane or tropical cyclone. It's usually 20 to 40 miles, 30 to 65 kilometers wide, though it can range from just a few miles to over 100 miles in some giant storms. What makes the eye so unique is that it's calm. Winds drop dramatically, skies often clear, and in some cases, sunlight even breaks through. But make no mistake, this peaceful center is surrounded by the most dangerous part of the storm, the eye wall. In a hurricane, air spirals inward and upward around the center due to the storm's powerful rotation. Right in the middle, the air sinks instead of rising. This downward motion suppresses cloud formation, leading to the eye's strange clarity and stillness. It's like standing in the middle of a roaring carousel. Everything is spinning furiously around you, but where you stand, it's quiet. How the eye forms. To understand why the eye exists, we need to understand how hurricanes themselves form. A hurricane begins as a cluster of thunderstorms over warm ocean waters, usually at least 26.5 degrees Celsius, about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, or warmer. As the warm air rises, it creates low pressure at the surface, drawing in more air and feeding a cycle of rising heat and moisture. The Earth's rotation, known as the Coriolis effect, causes this system to spin. As the storm intensifies, the air pressure drops even more in the center, and winds spiral faster toward it. Eventually, a balance forms between the inward rush of air caused by low pressure and the outward force created by the spinning motion. This balance creates a stable circular core, and within that, the eye forms. Essentially, the eye is a byproduct of intense rotation. When winds around the center reach about 120 kilometers per hour, 75 miles per hour, or more, a storm's structure becomes organized enough for air to sink in the middle, clearing clouds and creating the calm zone we call the eye. The eye wall, the boundary of chaos. If the eye is calm, the eye wall is pure chaos. This ring of towering thunderstorms forms around the eye and marks the transition between tranquility and destruction. The eye wall is where a hurricane's strongest winds and heaviest rainfall occur. Wind speeds here can exceed 160 miles per hour, 260 kilometers/h. In a Category 5 hurricane, the vertical clouds in the eye wall can reach heights of 15 kilometers, 9 miles, into the atmosphere. Air rises violently in these walls, cooling and condensing into thick storm clouds. This upward motion releases enormous amounts of latent heat, energy stored in water vapor, which powers the entire hurricane. It's like the engine of a machine constantly feeding itself. Inside the eye wall, wind shear and turbulence are intense. The difference between calm and chaos can be dramatic. You could step from light breezes into a wall of hurricane-force winds within seconds. That's why meteorologists call the eye wall the most dangerous part of the storm. Why the eye is so calm. The calmness of the eye comes from descending air. While air around the storm's outer bands is rising and fueling thunderstorms, the air in the center is sinking. As it sinks, it warms and dries out, preventing cloud formation. This sinking motion also suppresses turbulence, making the air relatively stable. Pressure at the center of the eye is extremely low, sometimes dropping below 900 millibars in the most powerful storms. To put that in perspective, normal sea level pressure is about 10-13 millibars. This enormous pressure difference drives hurricane winds, but inside the eye, the sinking air counteracts the upward motion around it, creating that eerie stillness. In strong hurricanes, the air can be so stable inside the eye that you might even see blue skies above, despite being surrounded by a ring of violent storms. A journey into the eye, hurricane hunters. For decades, scientists have risked their lives to fly directly into hurricane eyes to study them up close. These are the hurricane hunters, pilots and meteorologists from the U.S. Air Force and NOAA who fly specially equipped aircraft into active storms. As they enter the eye wall, the turbulence is extreme. Planes are tossed around by updrafts and downdrafts. Lightning flashes through the clouds, and rain batters the fuselage. But once they break through, silence. The air smooths out, and the eye opens around them like a vast stadium, with towering clouds forming the walls. Inside, instruments measure wind speed, air pressure, temperature, and humidity. These data help scientists understand storm structure and improve forecast accuracy. Drones and dropsons, small sensors released from planes, fall through the eye and eye wall, sending real-time readings back to researchers. One pilot once described it as flying into the heart of a beast. Calm, but you can feel the power in every direction. The stadium effect. One of the most striking visuals inside hurricane's eye is something scientists call the stadium effect. When you're inside a mature hurricane eye, the clouds of the eye wall slope outward with height, creating the illusion of sitting in a giant open-air stadium. The lower part of the wall is dark and close, while higher up, the sky opens like a dome. NASA's satellite photos and pilot footage from missions into storms like Hurricane Katrina, 2005, and Hurricane Dorian, 2019, captured this breathtaking sight. The stadium effect is a clear sign of a well-organized, powerful storm with a fully developed eye and eye wall structure. How big can the eye get? Not all eyes are created equal. Some hurricanes have tiny, pinhole eyes, just 5 miles wide, while others stretch over 100 miles across. For example, Hurricane Wilma, 2005, had one of the smallest eyes ever observed, only 2 miles, 3 kilometers wide at its peak. On the other hand, Typhoon Carmen, 1960, had an enormous eye nearly 230 miles, 370 kilometers wide. The size of the eye can also change dramatically over time, depending on the storm's intensity. When a hurricane strengthens, the eye often contracts, becoming smaller and tighter. When it weakens, the eye can expand. Meteorologists call this process an eye wall replacement cycle. Eye wall replacement cycles. As hurricanes evolve, they often undergo internal restructuring known as eye wall replacement cycle. Here's how it works. A secondary ring of thunderstorms forms outside the existing eye wall. As it grows stronger, it chokes off the inner eye wall's inflow, causing the inner eye to collapse and be replaced by a new, larger one. During this process, the hurricane may temporarily weaken, but once the new eye wall contracts, the storm can intensify again, sometimes becoming even stronger than before. This is why hurricanes can fluctuate rapidly in strength. For example, Hurricane Dorian underwent several eye wall replacement cycles during its life, resulting in periods of weakening followed by explosive intensification. Conditions inside the eye. Inside the eye, the weather can be surprisingly mild. Winds drop below 15 miles per hour, 25 kilometers/h, and temperatures can be several degrees warmer than in the surrounding storm. The air is often dry and visibility can stretch for miles. However, this calm is deceptive. As the hurricane moves, the eye passes over, giving residents a brief break. Then the backside of the eye wall hits, bringing the same destructive winds from the opposite direction. Many people have been caught off guard during this lull, thinking the storm is over, only to face the full force moments later. Meteorologists always warn, if you're in the eye of a hurricane, stay inside. The calm won't last long. The eye and hurricane strength. The characteristics of the eye can tell meteorologists a lot about a storm's intensity. A small, well-defined eye usually means a stronger, more organized hurricane. The tighter the eye, the faster the winds must spin to maintain the low pressure inside. On satellite imagery, a clear, round eye surrounded by symmetrical clouds is a sign of a powerful Category 4 or 5 hurricane. In contrast, a ragged or cloud-filled eye often indicates a weaker system or one undergoing changes. Meteorologists track these patterns to estimate intensity and predict future strengthening or weakening. During Hurricane Patricia of 2015, for example, forecasters observed a tiny, sharply defined eye, a sign that the storm was about to explode in intensity. Within hours, Patricia became one of the strongest hurricanes ever recorded, with sustained winds near 215 miles per hour, 345 kilometers/h.